Hello, everyone. Dave Menapace here with Realty Executives, Boston West. And today we're going to cover how to analyze a short-term rental, both a house that maybe you want to purchase, as well as a market. If you're looking to get into a market and buy a house in that area, we're going to talk about how to learn the potential revenue that a house can make, what kind of amenities might be sought after from potential guests, and ultimately how to get to the point where you feel comfortable moving forward or moving away from a potential opportunity. So without any further ado, we're going to jump right in. All right, so the very first thing that we want to do is we want to get a sense of the type of house that we want to buy and understand what our budget is. So to do that today, I'm going to use a house that I just recently bought in Maine as an example. Now, that house is located right near Sunday River. That was one of the reasons why we wanted to purchase it. We had learned that there was strong short-term rentals performance up in that part of Maine. And at the same time, in a pinch, it's within a driving distance. It's still about 3 to 4 hours away and something we could get to if we ever had to. So the first thing that I always recommend to people is to get a sense of the kind of house that you want to buy. And you do that by looking on MLS portals such as Zillow, Realtor.com, or Redfin. So as an example here, we're going to take a look at a house. This is the house that Kim and I just bought 2 weeks ago. What we loved about this house was pretty much the aesthetic of the house itself. We loved that it was big, it was open, it looked like it could sleep roughly 8 to 10 people. These were some of the qualities that we wanted in the house. So as we look at some of the photos here, of course, we can see a photo of the outside of the house. And as we continue on, we're getting a sense, okay, there's a nice big porch here, an area that people could hang out in. We were really drawn to the big windows and the scenery when looking through those windows, which you can see a little bit here. As we continue on, again, this is some of the outdoors. Right here was a really interesting view for us. This told me that there was big, high ceilings, something that we were really interested in. And again, a lot of times I'm looking at a vacation rental as something where I could see myself vacationing there. That's usually a big thing. I do let this be somewhat of an emotional experience because I have to want to be able to go there. So once again, as we're going through, we can see, okay, now we notice it's an open concept. I see another room off to the side here. Nice big kitchen, dining, and living room areas that flow right out onto the porch itself. As we continue through, we can see there's somewhat of a coffee room. Maybe this can be used as a bedroom. Okay, up here in the loft, here's where I see sort of the main master bedroom area. Down over here, this is going to be our basement. So this is going to be an area that we're actually transforming into a living room, so to speak. So we're going to end up having 2 living rooms. And then along the back here, we start to think, okay, more space for people to sleep. Sleeping space is important, especially in a larger short-term rental like this. People want to be able to go up to these places with 8, 10, or 12 people, sometimes multiple families. So having the additional sleeping area is really important. But these are the kinds of things that I'm starting to look at when I'm looking through the pictures. And the more and more that you do this, the more you're going to end up learning what are you drawn to, what can your price point seem to afford in a given market, and what are some of the amenities that might interest you if you were to vacation there. Again, we have another bedroom here, bathroom. Here we can see a view out of the master bedroom area, those large windows. Okay, I noticed that there's laundry. Okay, a nice sort of topographical view. I can see here, okay, there's a big lawn. Now I happen to notice this was on about 6 acres of land. And the other thing, keep in mind and take special note of the wording that's in the listing itself, because a lot of times it'll tell you if the house itself has a strong rental history, and that's information that you can use as you go to learn if you want to buy in that market. Okay, there you can see the house, and then you can see some of the views off in the distance. So for us, this house really interested us, and we found 5 or 6 other houses in the area that met really similar criteria. So the next thing I want to start to learn, once I sort of pick out the type of house that I want to buy, and I can kind of see how far my money's going to take me, I next have to learn, well, if I do this right, what's my rental income ceiling? And as part of that, I also want to learn what types of amenities make it so I can ultimately make more money. So the very first place that I tell people to go is speaking with a local property manager. Now, really though, to find this information, there's kind of three ways that I like to do it. Speaking with local property managers who may have either managed that property, or maybe they managed similar properties, or they do manage similar properties in the area. You can look on Airbnb, right? You can take a look at other houses in the area that you're looking at and get a sense through their pictures what kind of style is the inside of the house, what kind of furniture are they using, how many people can it sleep, and what's the average nightly rate, or what's the general nightly rate, what's someone going to be paying for a long weekend or a full week. And you can kind of do some napkin math there to understand what kind of money you might be able to make. And then the last piece, okay, so, well, I should say property managers, talking to them is free. Looking on Airbnb, that's free too. The last one is not free. It's airdna.co. That's the website. Now for this, it's about $40 per zip code, but I'm going to show you today through my subscription, a lot of the information that you can get so you're not flying blind. And if you think about it, getting a 1-month subscription for $40 is kind of worth it in the realm of when you're spending $40, $50, $100,000 on a down payment for a house to make sure that you are making the right decision. Now, when speaking with local property managers, this is actually my favorite first step once I've found a house or a few houses that I'm really interested in. A lot of times when you speak to them, and I should say the reason you want to talk to local property managers is they have a pulse on what the vacation market is doing in that area. They're going to understand some of the legalities if there's certain areas of a city or of a destination that short-term rentals are not allowed, or you need a special permit, or they're going to certainly know what makes it so you can maximize your revenue. Now, of course, nobody wants to give away their time for free. So you do have to speak to them in a way that at least sounds genuine enough that you may be willing to use them. And maybe you are. Maybe you want this to be totally hands-off, and using a property manager could help you do that. So first, you're going to introduce yourself, explain what your goals are. Hi, my name's Dave. I want to buy a 3-bedroom house, one that has at least 2 bathrooms. Really, I'm aiming for a house that can sleep 8 to 10 people. My goals here are to make this dollar amount annually. And I kind of want to talk through that with you a little bit. These are some of the discussions you're going to have. Now, if you're looking at a house that is on the market, even better, go ahead and share that address with the property manager. That will help them have a point of reference and really be able to see some good photos. And it's not too uncommon that they will have actually managed that property themselves, which makes it all that much better and easier to get information about the house if you want to buy it. So with them, share the budget. What's your budget for buying a house? Is it 250K? Is it 500K? Is it $1 million? This is good information for them to have. Okay. From there, ask, what qualities and amenities do the highest performing houses have in that price range? Is it a hot tub that can command another $50 a night? Is it a charging station for an electric car? Is it a Peloton bike? Maybe you have to be within 15 minutes of a ski resort or 5 minutes from a beach. These are going to be really important pieces of information to understand, especially if you don't live in that local market. And remember, just because you might want something on your vacation within your own house doesn't necessarily mean that a guest is looking for that same thing. So you want to ask some of these questions. Ask them, what's the high season and what's the low season? At our Cape Cod vacation rental, of course, July and August, really June, July, August, and September, that's the high season in Cape Cod. However, we rent it out year round, and we know the shoulder seasons, say October and November, we're going to still get some traffic. December through March, it's going to be very quiet. Really, we'll just get some hits around the holidays for overflow and people to crash when they're visiting family. And then in April and May, things start to pick back up again. Now, up in Sunday River, up in Maine, we know that the winter is the high season. The shoulder season, or really the mud season, the spring is going to be very, very slow. And then traffic starts to pick up again in the summer. And then it really picks up in the fall going into the winter. So it's really important to understand that, because that'll help you start to get a sense of when do you need money in reserves to cover expenses, especially in the first year, and when are you going to be cash flowing. You want to ask a property manager what kind of occupancy within those high and low seasons can be achieved. In Cape Cod, from May through October, we run a 93% occupancy. There's only 7% of the days out of that whole 6 months where there's not a head in the bed, so to speak. Okay, but in the off season, we know that our occupancy is down around 15 to 30%. And that's okay. We've planned for that. We know when we can price high, and we know when we have to price low. Same with Maine, right? We asked those same questions. We came to learn that pretty much from Thanksgiving through middle of April, that's the high season. You're going to see 95% occupancy if you're priced competitively. Whereas in the mud season, late April into June, we might not get any guests. And then it starts to pick up again in the summer, where maybe in the summer we can expect 50 to 60% occupancy. But it allows you to start to understand what kinds of rates you can charge in those types of seasons. You might want to ask, what does the competition look like, right? Am I competing against 200 other short-term rentals in my zip code, or am I competing against a few dozen? Right? And that might also give you a quick tip on how easy it will be or how difficult it will be to get a cleaning company as well. And then just ask, are there any other amenities that guests prefer to look for, right? Again, for us in Maine, the first purchase we made was a hot tub, when we learned that we could get $50 to $60 more a night just by having that hot tub there. In 2 years, it more than pays for itself. But these are the things that you learn just by asking. And I always recommend ask at least 3 property managers. 3 is kind of that magic number where you really start to gather this information that can be extremely, extremely helpful for you. And then as you finish up your discussion with the property manager, I usually like to start to get a sense of, what are their fees? What are they doing to drive revenue? If I were to have them manage the property for me, which I've never done. However, it is a great hands-off approach for some people. And I take it as an opportunity to network too. So what does that look like? I always ask, what's your fee for managing a vacation rental in that market? Some are 20% of the gross revenue. Others are 30 to 40. Usually it depends on the size of the house, the number of amenities, and the age of the home as well. I like to usually ask, how many homes do you currently manage? Are they managing 10? Are they managing 50? Are they managing 100? At some point, if they're going to be managing more and more and more, that's great. They have a lot of experience, but I also want to make sure they have a team to support the needs of my guests as well, and that they have an in-house cleaning staff to make sure that I'm never going to be left out in the cold if I have a turnover. I'll always ask them, what actions do they take to help drive revenue, right? Are they marketing on social media? Will they do professional photos of the house and videos as well? What platforms are they promoting on? Is it Airbnb and VRBO? Are they also doing booking.com? The lion's share is going to be Airbnb and VRBO, but it's really good to understand that. Are they taking direct bookings, right? What does that picture look like? And then on the networking side, I'm usually starting to ask, are there any real estate agents that you would refer me to work in this market? That can be super powerful, right? An inside referral like that could really mean that you're not just picking up an agent off of Zillow or Redfin, but you're truly getting an agent that understands that market, that specific market. I'll always leave it with this. I'll ask them, hey, are any of your current customers or homes that you service, are any of those customers looking to sell, right? In today's market, it is so hard to buy, especially to buy at a fair price. So I'm always looking for opportunities to buy off market, and a property manager is going to be the closest one to that, to understanding what owners out there might be considering selling. And if not, at least make sure that the property manager is aware that I myself want to buy. And if they do know of any owners that want to sell, I am the go-to person. I will buy that house if the numbers work. So from there, once you've done that, the next thing I always recommend, again, hopefully you talk to 3 different property managers. From there, usually I'll go on to Airbnb and I'll start to look at a lot of the different pictures of some of the quote unquote competition. I want to get a sense of, what does that house tell me? What kind of amenities do they have in there? What's the style in the house? What's the look and feel? What do I like? What do I not like? It really gives you a good sense, right? And keep an eye as to what that nightly rate is, okay? Because if you take those occupancy percentages that the property manager just shared with you and you apply that to that average nightly rate, you can start to get a sense, am I going to make 30 grand a year or 50, 60, maybe 100K a year? That's really going to help you start to triangulate where you fall within that spectrum based on what your price point is. The next tool, right now, we're going to talk about a paid tool, my favorite paid tool. It's called airdna.co, not .com.co. And I bought that subscription for Bethel, Maine. That's where what we're calling Logan's Lodge, the house that we just recently bought, is located, right? And there's some really great information. There is a free subscription model on this. It gives you some high-level stats, which can be really helpful. A lot of those free stats are along the top here. So I'm saying, okay, out of what I think is 264 active rentals, my average nightly rate is around 380. You can see here in June, that rate's right around 334. And in February, it's up around $450. I can see that on average amongst all these rentals, the occupancy rate really is right around 63%. And then you can see sort of the average monthly revenue is right around $4,700. Now, it's important to understand that this pulls all the data from Airbnb and from VRBO. And not everyone is motivated to fully maximize the revenue they can make on a house like I am. My goal here in buying short-term rentals is to maximize my revenue and provide amazing vacations for great guests. That's not everyone's intent. Some people just want to cover their mortgage, or some people know, oh, I can't get there for 6 months. I'll just throw it on Airbnb and leave it. They're not looking at the pricing. They're not really doing the things necessary, really the simple things necessary to maximize what they could make. So take all of this information with a grain of salt. I'm going to show you how to pluck out exact comparables from this data and actually really dial in as to what you might be able to make based on the comparables that you choose. But I'm just, for the sake of this, we're walking through. Now over here, rental channel, this one's pretty cool, right? I can see that out of these houses, 41% is just on Airbnb. 31% is just on VRBO, and about 28% is listed on both platforms. From rental size perspective, I'm seeing that most of the houses are 3 bedrooms, some have 4 bedroom. This is really important. This is telling you that the guests are usually looking for a 3 or 4 bedroom house. At Chestnut Knoll, Logan's Lodge, that's exactly it. It's a 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom house falling right into this highest tier here, where at least 30% of the comps here have that. And then you have some with more than 5. You can see what that average rental growth is. It looks like, quarter over quarter, it's been growing around 9% over the last 3 years. Here, I like this one, amenities, right? So You see a lot of people, obviously, with heating, washer, dryer, cooling, kitchen, parking, internet, all that good stuff. You don't see a ton with hot tubs. And I learned from talking with a property manager, people are looking for hot tubs. People want hot tubs. When they come up here to go skiing, they want to plop in the hot tub at the end of the day. Well, I know that I'm going to be one of only 17% of these 265 rentals that has that amenity, which means I can charge a lot more per night because that hot tub is there. So with that, let's take a look at some actual comps themselves. So we're gonna zoom in. Now what you're seeing up here, this is Sunday River Ski Resort, okay? And where our house is located is about 15 to 20 minutes south, right in this area here. Pretty cool. I'm like, okay, I know I'm within a close drive. What's really neat is as you start to hover over these dots, you can see some of this information. So this one that I just sort of randomly pulled up here, I see that they have 53 5-star reviews. So they're a legit owner here. This isn't their first rodeo. Their days available is 232. Their average daily rate is 234. Their occupancy within their availability is 88%, which is really good, really strong. And their revenue is just under $50,000. So you might ask, well, days available 232 out of 365. How come it's not available year round? It wouldn't surprise me if the owners of this house use the winter, they take the winter and they use the house for themselves to go skiing at Sunday River, and then they rent it out the other 3/4 of the year. That kind of makes sense. They shut it down, I guess, for about 1/3 of the year for about 120 days, and then they open it back up. But when it's open, it's performing really strong. Likewise, you might see one like this, right? Days available 31, right? They kind of tried it out. They threw it on Airbnb. Probably didn't do that well for them, considering they made, I guess they made about $3,600, but this isn't a full-time hustle for them for sure. Few more, right? Let's see if we can find. Let's scroll in a little bit and see if we can find some other heavy hitters here. Okay, this is actually another good example, right? So this one, days available 267. Again, they're open for 2/3 of the year. Their average daily rate though is up at $550 and their occupancy is only 20%. What's that telling you? Right off the bat, I know that is priced too high. Right? They're priced too high, and because of that, nobody's really renting from them, and they only made 30 grand. Let's see if we can find one more, and then we'll jump into some of the other comps that I found. Bear with me here. Let's see what's going on over here. Oh, this is perfect. Okay. Now this one's neat, right? It can sleep 12 people. I think ours is going to be able to sleep 10 or 11 people when it's all said and done. It's still in Bethel, Maine. It's about 20 minutes from Sunday River, just like mine. I love this one because it's available 358 days of the year, but look how high that average nightly rate is, $650. Because of that, their occupancy is only 35%. Now they made 80K, not bad. However, I have a sneaky suspicion if they drop that down to $400 or $500 a night, that occupancy would go way up and they could make close to double what they're making now. So this is some of the important information that you can get just from looking at AirDNA, and you can actually click on any of these links and go right. You can click on the link and you can go right into that booking, and then you can start to look at the different photos and things like that within the cabin. So pretty neat feature. Again, you can click around and you can see some of this information here. Pretty sweet house, right? It's too bad that they're priced so high. I think they're probably cutting out some of the opportunities that they could make. So let's take a look at this spreadsheet that I put together here. This spreadsheet has 4 or 5, I guess 6 comps that I was looking at to try and get an understanding of what I could make with Chestnut Knoll. I focused in on some properties that were a little bigger, a little smaller, and some that were the same. So the first that we're going to take a look at is this one here. Now, just looking back at my comp analysis here. So this one I liked because it was available 361 days of the year. They had an average nightly rate of 263 and their occupancy was 88%. So that told me, okay, they're open year round. Their average nightly rate is definitely fair and their occupancy is very high. So they're definitely priced competitively. I liked it because it was a 3-bed, 2.5-bath, and it could sleep 10 people, which is really similar to what we bought on Chestnut Knoll, or so to speak, at Logan's Lodge. And just, real quickly here, again, this one could sleep about 10 people. As I'm going through, I'm always taking a look at, what kind of amenities. This one doesn't have a hot tub. Maybe they could have charged a little bit more if they did. I see some bunk beds in there. I'm getting a style and a sense of the types of furniture they're using. Okay, the views that they have. I see they're using a trundle there. They had bunk beds in another. They have a really pretty view. They have some board games. They can see a ski mountain off in the distance. So I say, okay, how does that compare to mine? And is that a good comp? In this case, I think so. Another neat one, right? So this is another one. This one's on VRBO as that loads. This one was only available for 245 days. So again, I think they closed it down for the winter. Average nightly rate is 586 with an occupancy of 87%. So, okay, I know these people are legit. For this house, they're pricing competitively. Their gross revenue is $125,000 in 2021. Had it been open the full year, it's my prediction they would have made somewhere in the $180,000 mark. Okay, now this one is admittedly a little bit bigger than the house that we purchased. What's interesting is that it doesn't really have any views. Yes, it's pretty, it's updated. It's actually strikingly similar, though, to the house that we bought, but it doesn't have any views. This gives me a lot of confidence because I know that I can compare to this, and I do have a view and I do have a hot tub in ours. So it's really interesting as you start to learn what is the competition doing and how well are these people managing their Airbnbs, right? So, okay, I see some bunk beds. I'm kind of flying through these photos here, getting a sense of the different decor that they're using and the types of furniture. Finished basement. Okay, I see a ping pong table. They allow dogs, it looks like. So again, this is the kind of information that you're getting from AirDNA. One that I thought was super interesting was almost a tiny house, which, physical layout wasn't super similar, but I was really fascinated. They're open 270 days of the year. They priced it at 262 a night and they had 85% occupancy, making for a gross revenue of 60K a year. And if you annualize the 269 out to 365 for days available, they probably would have made over $80,000. And this is only a 2-bed, 1.5-bath that only sleeps 4 people. So I'd like looking at these too, because, obviously this is a high performing Airbnb. And it's really good to see, okay, well, what's one, if this smaller house is making that much, I have to be able to make that with mine. But what are they doing to achieve that, right? Really clean inside, right? You're not seeing any clutter or anything like that. Things are certainly updated within the interior. And, it's affordable for people, right? But there's no big crazy view or anything like that. So that again tells me I'm right in the right ballpark for purchasing the house that I want to purchase. So I go down, I use this template that I like. Again, it shows days available, nightly rate, occupancy, gross revenue. If I were to annualize that, what's the revenue there? It's showing me how many beds, baths, and number of guests. And then I always love taking some notes. There are some that we won't get to today. Then I say, ooh, the occupancy is really low, below 50%. They probably just priced it too high. They didn't have either a dynamic pricing tool or they weren't having a good pulse on what was happening. Or it could be one of those where people say, this is the number I want to make. And if I can do it with less gas by having a higher nightly rate, then that's fine too. It's all preference, right? So what I started looking at is I took the average of all of these and I started to say, okay, the average days available across these six was around 310 days of the year. The average nightly rate was around 400, and the occupancy, the average occupancy was around 81%. That tells me that when I compare to the rental that we just bought, I think that realistically we could grow somewhere right around $90,000, just if we were to have it open for 300 days a year. And if we do it right and we keep it open year round, I think that we can make close to $120,000 a year. So that's like some of the deeper information that I'm getting off of a simple $40 subscription that you can cancel after 30 days. But putting all of this information together, from talking to property managers, eventually talking to agents. I typically don't like talking to them until I'm ready to buy, though. And marrying that with a lot of the information that I'm getting from AirDNA, that is really the best way that you can take all of this information, put it together, and see if it's right for you to buy a short-term rental within a given market. So with that, I want to thank everyone for viewing this video. I'd love if you'd click subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you have any questions, post them in the comments, like the video. You can also find me on Instagram at Menapace Real Estate. I'm on Facebook under the same Menapace Real Estate, and my website, you guessed it, is menapacerealestate.com. And with that, if you would ever like to talk through how to purchase a short-term rental property or run some ideas by me for different markets that you might be interested in, I would love to help you or anyone else you know achieve your goals in real estate. Thanks so much, everyone, and have a great day.